Hi class, how are you today? That's good to know. The learning target for today is to construct lines and angles using a compass and a straight edge. The scale, you're 3 if you can construct lines and angles with no help. 2, you can construct lines and angles if you use your notes. 1, you can construct lines and angles if you watch the tutorial. 0, you can construct lines and or you cannot construct lines and angles.
All right, so the first one we're going to do is how to copy a line segment. So with any of these, you're not going to have a compass on you to take these notes. So what I want you to do is draw any pictures you want, but make sure you write down all the instructions. Make sure you write down each step at the very least, but I also suggest drawing some pictures to make sure you know exactly what's going on. So, step 1, make a point R that will be on one end of the new line. So, you made a point R. Just somewhere on your paper, you make the point R. Then you place the compass point on the end of the original line. Then you want to adjust the compass width to the other end of the line. So, you have it on P, and then you extend your compass all the way to Q. Without changing the width, move the compass to R. So where it's on P, you move it to R. Now, you're going to draw an arc near where the end of the new line would be. So having it at the width with one end at R, you use the pencil part to make your arc. Then pick a point S anywhere on the arc, and that'll be the end point of your new line. Then use a ruler to draw a straight line between R and S, and you have your line segment. All right, now we have adding line segments, a sum of line segments. So we have 3 line segments here, A, B, and C. And first step for that is to make a point P towards the left that will be one end of the new line. So somewhere near the end of your left end of your paper, make a point P. Then draw a long line, the longer the better, from P somewhere to the right. So just draw a long line, then set the compass width to the length of segment A. Move it to point P and draw an arc across the lower line. So now on this line, we have made a line segment that is the length of A. So now we're going to set the compass width to length of segment B, and we're going to move it to the previous arc and draw an arc across the lower line. So we move it to R, and then we draw the arc. And now we've got A here and B here. So now this line segment from P to S is the length of A plus B. And now we're going to add C as well and do the same thing. Set the compass width to the length of segment C, move it to the previous arc, make the arc, and that is C. So now from P to Q, we have the length of A plus B plus C. And if you want to make it a line without the extra lines at the end here, what you'll need to do is what we just did with copying a line segment and copy it in a new place. So next, we're going to construct a segment whose length is different from the given segments AB. So instead, we're going to subtract segments. So in this case, we're going to do A minus B. So first step, make a point P towards the left that will be the end of the new line. So on the left of your paper, make a point P. Then, again, just like in the sum, draw a long line from P to the right. Set the compass width to the length of segment A, the bigger one. Move it to point P and draw an arc across the lower line, creating point Q. So we make an arc, and the intersection between that line we drew and the arc gives us our point Q. Then we're going to set the compass width to the length of segment B, the shorter one. Move it to point Q and draw an arc across the left to the left. So now from P to R is the length of A minus B. Because A is P to Q, B is R to Q, so A minus B is this length here. Now we're going to construct a perpendicular bisector of the given line PQ. Now first, what is a perpendicular bisector? A perpendicular bisector is a line that will cut a line into two equal parts, a line segment. So this line will come through PQ in the middle, but it'll also be perpendicular, so that means it'll go at a right angle, a 90-degree angle. So cuts it in half, at a 90-degree angle. That's what we're doing. So, step 1, place the compass point on one end of the line. So we place it on P, adjust the compass so it's just over half the length of the line. If it's not over half, it won't work. It doesn't matter too far. Do it as close to half as possible, but make sure it's over. Without adjusting the compass width, draw an arc on each side of the line, both above and below it. Now, without changing the compass width, do the same thing for point Q. Your lines should intersect. Both of those arcs there should intersect with your previous two arcs to make X's. Now, draw a straight line between the intersections of each of the two arcs. And now we have a line that it both cuts the line PQ in half and at a 90-degree angle. So what we want to do here is divide a given line segment AB into equal parts. Here we're going to do 5 parts, but this will work for any number greater than 1, of course. So we're going to take segment AB and turn it into 5 equal parts. So we're going to cut line AB so you've got 5 equal parts. Step 1, draw a ray from A at an angle roughly the same length as AB. So draw a line above AB that goes at an angle and make it about the same length as AB. Although longer is better. Step 2, place the compass point on A and adjust the width to about 1/5 of AB. About what you think it is. It doesn't have to be exact, but about what you think 1/5 of AB would be. Step 3, step the compass along the line making 5 arcs. Label the last one as C. So where the compass is now, you'll make an arc, and then at that intersection you'll move the point up and make a new arc and keep going. And you want 5 total arcs. And the last one's labeled C. Next, with compass width set to CB, draw an arc below A. So you measure CB with the compass, and then you move to A and make an arc below it. And then with the compass width set to AC, draw an arc below A, creating D. So you measure AC and then you draw an arc below A from B, and you create the new point D, which is the intersection of those two arcs. Now you're going to draw a line from D to B. So now you set your compass width to how you made AC, so from A to this first point, and you'll make 4 arcs along DB. Now you're going to draw lines between each of the arcs. And all those lines are now equal. All right, so first we're going to take a point on the line, K, and we're going to draw a perpendicular line on that point. So a line that goes through that point that is 90 degrees. So step one, put the compass point on K on the point and set it to a medium width, not too big, not too small. Then draw an arc on both sides through that line, so both sides of K, but on the line, and you'll create points P and Q using the intersections. With compass point P, set its width to about halfway between K and Q. So put your compass on P and then have the compass go halfway between K and Q. So now you're going to draw an arc on one side of the line, probably say above the line. So above the line, from point P, draw an arc. Now, do the same thing but on point Q, and that'll create the point R. Now, using that intersection, draw a line from K to R using your ruler. And that'll give you a 90-degree angle that goes through the point K. So now we're going to construct a line perpendicular to a line that goes through a point that is off the line. So step one, place the compass on point R, the point that's off the line. Adjust the compass width so it's beyond the line. Draw two arcs across the line, creating points P and Q. From each point P and Q, draw an arc below the line so they cross. So below the line, you're drawing two arcs that intersect each other, and then draw a line from R to where the arcs intersect. And you have created a line that is perpendicular to that line and goes through your external point. All right, now we're going to construct a perpendicular line at an endpoint of a line or array. So just as a note, this one is specifically array. That means it has an endpoint but then goes on forever. So step one, mark a point D somewhere above the line and in from the end. Place the compass on D and set its width to the ray endpoint. So you put your point on D and then extend the width so it goes to P. Draw an arc across the ray above point D. Then draw a diameter through D where the arc crosses the ray. Now draw a line from the ray's endpoint to the endpoint of the diameter. And that's how you get a perpendicular line through an endpoint. Now we're going to construct some angles. So this one, we're going to copy an angle. So we have an angle here, angle BAC. And the way we copy the angle, step one, mark a point P to be the vertex of the new angle. So we just make a point somewhere on our paper that's point P. Draw a ray PQ in any direction and any length. This will be one side of the new angle. So draw a ray, so just draw essentially a line segment that goes from P and goes out somewhere. Now set the compass at point A and adjust it to any convenient width. Any width you want, just keep it so it's touching the lines of the angle. Draw an arc across both sides of the angle, creating points J and K. Now move the compass to P and draw a similar arc, crossing PQ at a new point M. Now set the compass on K and set its width to J. So we put it on K and making it so we're measuring the width of that angle. Now we move the compass to that new point M we just created and we make an arc to intercept the arc we had, point L. Now draw a ray PR from P through L. So we're just drawing a line from P to L to create our angle. Now we have an angle that is the exact same size as the angle we started with. You don't have to worry about the lines being the same length, just the angle being the same size. Now we're going to construct an angle bisector. So an angle bisector is a line that bisects an angle. Specifically, bisect means to cut in half. So we're going to draw a line that cuts the angle into two equal angles. So if, say, the angle was 30 degrees, we would make it an angle that we would make two angles that are each 15 degrees. We're cutting it in half. So, step one, place the compass point on the angle's vertex. That's where the angle is created. So in this case, point Q. Now, set the compass to any convenient width, but again, keeping your compass on the angle somewhere, on the line. Now draw an arc across each of the legs. Now the compass can be adjusted at this point if desired, but usually you don't have to. From where an arc crosses a leg, make an arc in the angle's interior. So put the point on one of the intersections and make another arc inside the angle. And then do the same thing with the other leg. Now draw a line from Q to where the arcs intersect, and we have our angle bisector. Now we're going to add two angles. So like we did with the line segments, we're going to add two of the angles. We're going to add these two angles together to get an angle that is the size of both the angles put together. So, step one, set the compass point on A and adjust it to any convenient width, again, within the angle. Now draw an arc across both sides of the angle, creating points J and K. Now move the compass to P and draw a similar arc to the left of line PR. So we're going to draw an arc over that line. The bigger the arc, the better, because you may need to redraw at some point. But if you make a really big arc, you probably won't have to redraw. Now set the compass on K and set its width to J. So we're measuring the width of that angle right there. Now move the compass to L and draw an arc crossing the first, creating point M. So we put the point on L and then we draw an arc across that arc, creating a new point M at the intersection, and then we draw a ray from P to M. And we have our new angle, MPQ or SPQ, but we have our new angle. And if you want just the angle, you can go back to the copy an angle section and copy that angle onto a blank sheet of paper. All right, now what we're going to do is a difference of two angles. So we're going to take the angle on the right and subtract the angle on the left. So this is going to be very similar to the sum of angles, but we're going to do just a little difference, opposite if you will. So step one, set the compass to point A and adjust to any convenient width within the angle. Draw an arc across both sides of the angle, creating points J and K, like we did with the sum. Move the point to P and create the arc, making point L. Set the compass on K and J to get its width of the angle, and then move it to point L, everything we've done so far with the sum. But now we're doing the inside. We want the arc to end up on the inside instead of the outside of the angle. Now we draw a ray from P to M, and the top angle is now equal to the angle on the left. So angle RPS or LPM or whatever you want to call it is equal to JAK or BAC, again, depending on the point. All right, next we're going to construct a line parallel to PQ that passes through given point R. So step 1, draw a line through R that passes across PQ at an angle creating point J. What that means is you have your line PQ down here, and this point R, so you want to draw a line through R across PQ at an angle creating point J. So some line from R through PQ that creates point J. So now we have JR. So with the compass width about half of JR and the point on J, draw an arc across both lines. So we're going to put our compass point on J and the width about half of JR, and then we're going to draw an arc across both lines. Using the same compass width, repeat the point at R, repeat at point R. So now we're doing the same thing above. Now we have two arcs, one between J and R and one above R. Set the compass width to the lower arc, so from that point intersection to this point intersection. Now move the compass to the upper arc and mark off an arc to make point S. Now draw a line through R and S. And we're done. We have line RS, which is parallel to line PQ. These little arrows here mark that it's parallel. So these two are parallel to each other. This is known as the angle copy method. There are other methods, but this is the only one we're going to cover. So this is the angle copy method because all we did here was just copy this angle. We made an arc and then we did the angle copy method of here just up here. So we copied the angle up here. Now time for the sponge activity. I have two questions here. Please answer them to the best of your ability, and as I've mentioned before, if you get them both right, you will get a bonus point on the next test. First question, what does it mean to be a perpendicular bisector? And second question, what is the difference in steps between adding two angles and subtracting two angles? So what I mean there is the steps in creating those two things are very similar. However, what's the difference? What changes between those two constructions? All right, that's it for this lesson. Please make sure to take notes on this entire lesson and attempt the sponge. Take a picture of everything, including the sponge, and submit it all to Google Classroom. Have a good night.